All right. Happy Tuesday. My name is Tyrone Gathers Jr., your host of The Source of the Inkwell, live on KUAW, Knowledge, Understanding, and Wisdom, Kansas City's global community radio station. You can check this broadcast out on a number of ways. You can hit us up on, turn this down. You can hit us up on YouTube, type in KUAW Live. You can go to Facebook, type in KUAW-LPFM 98.5. You can go to Twitter, type in KUAW. You can go to the TuneIn app on your mobile device, type in KUAW, and Periscope. You can also, oh, you can, okay, you can also go to, you can also call 816-599-6893 if you want to interact with any of the guests, and go to KUAW985@gmail.com to email your comments, concerns, questions, donations, because the more you donate, the more and more you support, the more and more you see more shows like this. You can smell it in the air, and it's okay. You take your mask off and smell it. It's political season, and during this time, you are seeing candidates hitting the ground hard, all the way up from president, all the way down to state legislators. And right now I have two state legislators. I know both of them. I met one indirectly through a close friend. And of course, I've been knowing this gentleman for a while as well too. You probably see pictures of us all through social media from back in the day when you first started running. That's right. So I have a tradition here on my show. I do not like introducing my guests. I like them to introduce themselves out of respect. So we'll start to my left and tell us who you are and what position you're running for. And then we'll start going to my right.
Okay, so I'm Ryan Myers, and I'm currently the Mayor Pro Tem of Raytown. I'm on Raytown City Council, and I am currently running for Missouri State Senate in District 9.
Okay. I'm Deron Black, and I'm running for the Democratic State House District 23, and I am probably one of the most passionate citizens in Kansas City, aside from my brother Tyrone and Mr. Myers over here. So I'll take my nice humble place at third, and I just want to make a difference for the community, so that's who I am.
Okay, so thank you all for coming in, because I shot out some requests to come onto the broadcast, and these two gentlemen hit it up real quick. And that's one thing I do want to say as a representative of the media, is that when people who are looking to do political aspirations to come in and sit down on a show, a small show like mine, that says a lot, because not only are you showing respect to me, you're showing respect to the listeners who will possibly be future voters and constituents for you. So let's go ahead and get this party started. And first off, can we get a little background of who you are, Mr. Myers?
So I guess a little bit about me. I'm born and raised in Kansas City. I am a third-generation graduate of Raytown High School, class of 2007. So yes, I am old enough to vote, for anyone wondering. So, my day job is I'm a commercial real estate appraiser. So I'm a normal guy. I'm not an attorney. I'm not, born and bred to be I'm a normal guy. So I'm not a career politician. I got into this just because my high school swim coach saw my leadership abilities. I was captain of the swim team in high school, and he talked with several of the other aldermen, and they thought that, he's got the leadership skills to be a great leader within our community. So that's kind of what inspired me to run. And some of my hobbies, when my budget allows for it, I love to travel. I'm also a home brewer, so I make my own beer. So if you guys ever want to come over for a party, let me know.
Okay.
Take you up on that.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. Okay.
All right. So I sell life and health insurance as my day job. Man, I've been a part of Kansas City all my life. Ex-Navy guy, United Auto Workers, third generation auto worker at one point. So shout out to everybody up there at the Clay Como plant. And single father, I co-parent with my son's mother of a nice 14-year-old young man named Dravius Black. Mm-hmm. And just been a part of the community all my life, and just want to make sure that our voices are heard in Jefferson City.
All right. Excellent. So the first question that I have is probably the same question that many individuals have. I mean, what is your platform? What are you standing for? What is holding up your campaign?
So my campaign is based off of what I've been able to accomplish as a Raytown alderman. I want to take everything that I've been able to get done, whether it be rental regulations, which has made our neighborhood safer and cleaner in Raytown. We've also sponsored TIF reform, which has saved our taxpayers millions of dollars in Raytown.
Yeah.
What I want to do is expand that to the entire Senate district, which is much larger than Raytown. I mean, it's Truce to Lee Summit Road on the Lee Summit line. So it's a big district. And and to be honest, the reason that I'm running is because, being from South Kansas City in the Raytown area, I feel that our district, the Senate district, has been almost neglected by past senators. I can name several instances where I was trying to get this rental regulations thing off the ground. The listeners may not know that Raytown is a fourth-class city, so we're actually governed by state law as opposed to Kansas City, where they have a charter.
Okay.
So the easiest way to get these rental regulations done would be have the legislature change the laws for what fourth-class cities can do. I called my senator at the time, and no response. Multiple times, no response. So I want to be able to be transparent as a senator. I want to be able to be responsive to my constituents. As an alderman, granted, I represent 30,000 people in Raytown. I have a 24-hour rule that if anyone contacts me as an alderman, I will get back to you within 24 hours. So that's one of the things of transparency. Can't talk tonight. Transparency and just open receptiveness to my voters and the constituents in Raytown. I mean, that's why I'm running.
Okay. The constituents, yes, because I am actually pretty familiar with your TIF reform policy, because being an educator in Raytown, we definitely did benefit from that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a strong policy right there. Mr. Black.
So my campaign platform is education, public safety, workforce development, and the expansion of Medicaid. And the reason why I'm running is because, Brother T, I'm just an everyday guy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's important that we have people who have, a lived experience, representing the people of the community. I mean, I didn't graduate valedictorian from any high school or any institution. As a matter of fact, I think as I went along through school and going to college, my grades, picked up because I started to take it more serious.
Right.
And so, coming from, 25th in college and living my life between 25th in college and 33rd in Cypress, you become very aware of the situations and the conditions that are taking place in your community. And a lot of the times, other people might have an idea of what the community needs, but yet and still it's a little bit difficult for them to get there because they don't necessarily have that intuitive experience that informs them of how to handle these certain situations and predicaments. So I just want to make sure that my community is represented and people's voices are heard.
Right. And the thing that I got from listening to both of you, because both of you have very strong platforms, very interesting platforms, is that you brothers are both of the people. Like born and raised in Raytown.
Right.
Born and raised, you said
25th in college.
25th in college. I mean, you know the people in which you're campaigning with. So like, if someone comes, if you go and knock on someone's door, they know you. They've seen you.
Yeah.
Because now let me ask this question. Because we see a lot of individuals who aren't from the community that try to come in and get political positions in our community.
Right.
So what advantage do you feel you have being a part of the community that you're in versus someone who is not a part of your community?
So the main advantage that I have is the connectivity with the community itself. I believe that there's strength in numbers, and when we look at that word, community, we see that word unity inside of community.
Exactly.
And so, when we have the capacity to come together, share ideas, and communicate with each other, and engage with each other on all different levels, then we can, actually get things done. When I'm speaking for you, I should actually know something or know a little bit about you.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I really appreciate about Missouri's state house is that the districts are are small in comparison to other states. I think we have like 160 something state representatives, and with those districts being so small, it allows you to be able to bump into your constituency, you know, on a frequent basis. Unlike my friend Mr. Ryan over here, he has a pretty larger district than mine, but I love my district, man. I mean, it's from 9th Street and Independence Avenue to 35th and 31st Street on the south side, Truce on the west, and most of Toppin on the east. And like I said, that's pretty much where I spent my entire life, except for the little time that I was in the Navy. And once I got out of the Navy, I got divorced and came back to Kansas City. and so my whole life has pretty much revolved around that district. But at the same time, I've had different experiences as well to actually, you know, enhance and bring value back to that district. So
Okay, cool. Good answer.
So, like Mr. Black said, this issue is a little bit more tough for a state senator because
it's huge.
Yeah, it is pretty big. So, you know, the population of the Senate district's pushing 250,000 people. So it makes it very difficult to equitably represent that many cultures, that many backgrounds, that much diversity. But that's something that I'm committed to. You know, knocking on doors. I mean, I've hit thousands of doors so far, and my legs are about to fall off, but that's okay because I'm able to talk to those people. They're appreciative when I come to the door and they say, "We haven't seen anybody. No states. We haven't talked to anybody. You get my vote just because you showed up at my door."
Mm-hmm.
And I want to continue that responsiveness, and I want to make sure that when I'm elected that I'm able to reach out. I want to have an open dialogue with my committee people because that's where that's what they're there for.
Mm-hmm.
Is they're able to take the pulse of that specific ward that they represent as committeemen, committeewoman, and they can report back to me and say, "This is what's going on over here. I want to be able to do this." Somebody over here says, "I want to be able to do this." So that way, I can get a good gauge on what the community needs and how I can legislate effectively.
Okay, excellent. Now, I do want to share with everyone that before this show, Mr. Black and Mr. Myers were out campaigning before they came here. So that shows dedication to what they're doing. It wasn't like, you know, I just woke up or I got through eating a turkey sandwich. You know, no, they were out hitting the pavement. And I mean, like I said, right there, the fact that they went all through today in 90-degree weather, campaigning and knocking on doors to come and do this broadcast, that's admirable, very admirable. And I mean, I personally don't see many other individuals who's running for office actually doing that.
right.
You know, so this is a very, you know, very strange year when it comes to politics, and I say that because of this pandemic. How has the pandemic hindered your campaign? Or if it has.
OMG, you know, like, so this is my third campaign that that I've ran, or the third time that I've ran for office. But I've also worked with several other campaigns as well, and this is nothing like, you know, I've ever experienced before. I mean, when you look at the whole political process, it's about conversations. It's about getting in front of people and actually talking to people and having those engagements, so people can get a feel of who you are and you can get an understanding of who you're representing. And so, you know, the capacity to be able to raise funds, the capacity to be able to have events, you know, all those things have been transformed. And even though that it's transformed and it made it a little bit more difficult, it has given me you know, a more of an understanding of the urgency and really the commitment that I have to put myself through if I want to see, you know, an effective and productive future for our community going forward. So it's made me step up my game. I definitely won't say that I'm hitting on all cylinders as I would like, but you know, I'm pretty sure Mr. Ryan probably has the same experience. He's even come out to a couple of our events. You know, we had to do the social distance. We have the thing outside, and so yeah, man, it's a new world when it comes to politics and campaigning.
It sure is. It's a whole new world. I'm just waiting on a ladder and fly through now, singing that song. It's totally different.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So this whole COVID thing, like Mr. Black said, is, you know, it's made it tough on fundraising. That's probably the main issue that I've encountered in my campaign. You know, I'm not able to have. I had a campaign fundraiser scheduled about the week before everything shut down, and I had to cancel it. So, it's resulted in a lot of phone calls, a lot of having to rely on digital technology to get connected with voters. But in terms of knocking on doors, I've talked to voters, and they're not necessarily, I don't want to say scared when I come to the door, but they're a little more cautious. If they've got a glass front storm door or whatever, they stay behind it. And, it's like, if you're comfortable, I can put this under the doormat or stick it in the door. And they're very receptive, and they're very appreciative that I've stopped by. Yeah. And really knocking on doors, I just try to keep my distance. Aside from that, wearing a mask is kind of a pain when it's 90 degrees outside, but kind of makes for weird tan lines. But I would say the main issue's been, not issue, I guess it's been different, is fundraising.
Yeah. And I would say so too, because you need funds to keep the thing going. Right. Now, Mr. Black, you mentioned that Ms. Myers attended your campaign, some of your events.
Yeah.
Now, how important is it for candidates to, I want to say, is it safe to say partner up or support one another? Because really typically it's very rare that you hear, oh yeah, I'm running for this position, but I'm gonna go support this guy over here, or I know she's running for this, but I'm gonna go support her.
Right.
So how frequent do people see that, and how important is it?
Well, I think it just really depends on the candidates themselves. So I know from my political engagements or my political activity in the past, a lot of people would think that I'm, a person that's not necessarily easy to get along with, which, I hope that you can, tell the people something different. You know what I mean?
Course,
yeah, right.
Yeah.
And so,
yeah.
So you want to be able to have those conversations with people across the spectrum, period. One of the things that I always keep a keen perspective about is that we're all people. We're all human beings. At the end of the day, you have the same wants and needs and desires that I do. And if you look at people across the map, we want to have food, clothing, shelter, decent home, education for our children, and all these different things. So why wouldn't you support a person who you believe in them, and maybe if they believe in you, and if you're going to be constituents of each other or colleagues of each other, then why wouldn't you want to start those conversations and have those conversations and support somebody that you believe in?
Exactly. Okay.
So part of my reasoning about showing up to different candidates' events, whether it's Mr. Black's or I've been to several other potential legislators coming up in 2021. I've been to their events, and I kind of look at it like an appraisal. So when I'm appraising a property, there's 3 steps. You have to gather the data, you have to analyze it, and you have to report on it. So what I'm doing, and whenever I stop by a fundraiser, is I'm gathering data on that person. So I can make an assessment on what they stand on, and it gives me an opportunity to learn, because I'm never going to dig my heels and say this is how it's going to be, this is what I believe in, because one of the things that I have always been taught, whether it was my parents or my grandparents, is to always be teachable. And I want to learn from other people. I want to learn from other candidates. I want to learn from their experiences, their lives, so I can be a better legislator.
I like that, man. Cause we're lifelong learners.
Absolutely.
I was talking to a brother of mine who also is a strong supporter of this broadcast. He said, "Yeah, man." He said, we was having a conversation. He said, "Yeah, like you always said, human brains designed to learn regardless. Even when you're sleeping, the brain's learning. So if your brain is used to doing that, let it run wild." So that's very, I like that. Now, throughout the conversations, we were hearing, past political aspirations or past political positions. Let's let our listeners hear your political resume, if you will. What positions you had, what positions you ran for, what campaigns you were in. So we can kind of know, so they can know, who you are, kind of jog their memories up a little bit. Because I know both of you. I mean, I've followed your political career from point one, and I've met you. I've seen you in action a couple times at city council meetings. Yeah. So especially one of them in particular, I went in. I was invited to one. It was with the budget cuts with the police department, and the way you all handled that room. I mean, it was some very upset people there, but you all were still calm. I mean, you all were thermostats, Yeah, I mean, literally. I mean, they were like, "We're gonna stay calm," and that really helped the situation out. I mean, from what I saw. I'm only speak for me. It was the way you all showed that leadership was pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, definitely. When you go to a Raytown City Council meeting, sometimes you want to bring popcorn, but most of the time we're pretty level-headed, and we all 10 of us debate very well, and we're all very respectful of each other, and that's one thing I have to commend my colleagues on the city council.
Yeah.
But so my resume, before I was a volunteer swim coach. I actually coached Raytown South high school's men and women swim teams.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of where my leadership, where it kind of sparked. And my high school swim coach was actually the person that talked me into running, and just because of the whole, as captain of the swim team, and he thought that I had leadership qualities that could go forward. So I ran in 2015 for city council. I did it by myself. I'm like, yeah, I can do this by myself. I can wholeheartedly do it myself. That didn't pan out like I wanted to, but you know what? I didn't lose. I learned.
Yeah.
And I came back in 2017 because I'm not a sore loser, but I like to win. And that's kind of the start of my political career. Even though I don't consider myself a career politician, I'm going for municipal government. And I want to be able to take what I've accomplished at the municipal level and bring it to the entire Senate district. So it's not like I want to step up from city council to state rep to state senate to governor or president.
Right. Yeah.
Whatever.
You're doing a formula. Yeah.
So it's more. I saw the opportunity, and I think I can use what I've been able to get done in a positive manner for a greater group of people.
Okay. Now you mentioned that you were mayor pro tem.
Yes.
Or that you are currently mayor pro tem.
Yes.
Now, that's a term that maybe not too many people are familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
Would you mind explaining what a mayor pro tem is?
So mayor pro tem is the position changes annually in April, and it requires a majority vote of my colleagues on the Board of Aldermen. So they decided that they voted for me this past April to be mayor pro tem. So basically, if the mayor is unable to attend an event, I have to go do the ribbon cutting. I have to go speak to a group of people. God forbid, if the mayor is incapacitated in any way whatsoever, I become the mayor of Raytown. Mm-hmm. So that's basically what mayor pro tem means.
Okay. Yeah, that's good to know because, several people, they hear the term, but they don't know what it is. I know a buddy of mine who's on the board with you was mayor pro tem, and some of the kids are asking, what does that mean? I said, well, pretty much if mayor gets sick, that's your mayor. They're like, oh, cool.
And, on top of it, it's, I think the actual technical term is president of the board. So I'm the president of the, I'm able to represent the board as a whole.
Okay. Right. Cool. Yes. I mean, you would think that most people, that term is more, talked about more because anything can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I was pretty much an armchair politician since 2000 since 2000. I joined the Navy in 1999, but in 2000 I voted for my first president. I voted for George Bush. Well, I was in the Navy.
No.
And come to think about it, out of all the Bushes, Bush Jr. ended up being my favorite. Seriously. But yeah, so since 2000, well, in 2000, I consider myself an armchair politician.
Okay.
In the Navy or in the military, they typically tell you to vote Republican because Democrats at that point have been known for defunding or downsizing the military. So it was just a situation where if you want to protect your paycheck, then you vote Republican. Yeah. And so after I got out of the Navy and actually came back to Kansas City, I started working with my father at KUAW, and of course, being a union employee, you vote Democrat, and so I voted for President Obama in 2008, and that was probably one of the most exciting elections that I was ever a part of. But at the same time, I wanted to be able to defend President Obama as well, because I just felt that that there would be some things coming down the line that if you're going to vote for this man, that you should be able to defend as well. And so, I became really educated about, national politics, and I knew everybody that was, in his cabinet at one point, and pretty much read all his books that he had wrote, or the 2 books that he had wrote.
Mm.
And in 2012, I was seeing a couple inconsistencies that I didn't necessarily agree with. And me and my father had a conversation about, me running for office. And I told him that, I think at that time I was around 31. And so I was like, you know what, I'm going to wait until I'm, around your age, around 50 something.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit more calm.
Yeah.
And the strangest thing is that later on that day, I had talked to a gentleman that I had never met before in my life. And we ended up having 45 minutes of the same conversation. And I literally thought to myself, like, hold on, like, this is the second time that I've had this conversation today. And it was election year. And so, I was like, you know what, I think I'm gonna think about it. And it was around February of that year. And after I thought about it for a while, I felt that, this is something that I'm being, moved or compelled towards. And so I decided to run my first campaign for state representative. It was a complete disaster. But at the same time, I was able to distinguish myself from a lot of the people who had already been known around Kansas City for politics. So I ran that first campaign. Then after that, started a nonprofit organization and got involved into another campaign. And I actually was kicked off the ballot, at that particular time. I had made some mistake with my filing or something like that. I don't even remember what it was, but I ended up getting kicked off the ballot. I think I didn't pay my taxes. I think I was behind on my taxes that year. Something.
Yeah.
But anyway,
it was a learning step.
It was a learning step.
Yeah, learning step.
Yeah. But after that, I ran again in 2016, and after that, man, it was pretty much back-to-back, campaigns. I worked for the Bernie Sanders campaign, then I worked for the Hillary Clinton campaign, then I came back and I worked for Bonnet Mims campaign, which is a colleague of Mr. Ryan's over there, and also worked on a few other campaigns as well, and just sharpened my chops and got more skills. So I've been a regional field director at one point. I've been a field operator at one point, and then even put together my own little canvassing teams, to do some canvassing, and worked on a canvassing operation for expanding the streetcar. So, not necessarily a career politician, but I've been engaged.
Yeah. So so if anyone would like say, hey, do these candidates know what they're talking about? Yeah, you all know the game. Yeah, you definitely know the game. Bit. Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah. Now, I'm gonna ask a question about your opponent, but I don't want to put too much attention on the opponent because the opponent's not here. Let the listeners know who you're running against, so they can kind of know, because we are a bipartisan station. So they know, okay, so you're running against this person, blah blah blah. So who are you running against for your district?
The person that I'm running against, you can find on the Secretary of State's website, sos.mo.gov, or you can go to the Kansas City Elections Board. And if you click on the Democratic ballot and go down to District 23, you'll see both names on there, but the name you probably should be, recognizing the most is Deron Black. I'm sorry, Brother Tyrone.
No. That's the answer I was looking for.
Yeah.
Because people ask me all the time who's running on what, and the ballot, they need to know where to find the ballot to go look for that. So that's what. That's why I started laughing. I'm like, yeah, you read my mind.
I mean, because literally, like, I mean, and I believe Brother Ryan probably has a similar story. I mean, for candidates who actually get out there, it's not easy. It is not easy. I mean, listening to the stories and being aware of the situations that's going on. I mean, here in Kansas City, man, we're looking at 50 plus more homicides right now than we had last year.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that.
I think we even crossed like 101 homicides, just recently. So, the different stories of people who are dealing with different things, and I even lost, a member of my family, through this campaign as well. And so, so after a while, when people consistently ask you who is the other person, and you're starting to, well, at least I know I started to tell people, listen, I'm through. I quit. I for whatever reason, man, that gentleman, has not gotten himself in front of you. I'm in front of you right now, so I'm gonna tell you my name, and if you really want to know who else is running, you can go find out.
I mean, the invitation was sent to both.
Right.
You
Right.
know, and we're gonna. I don't know. We talked about sending that to, but I mean, you know, you all are here.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, do you agree with the same answer? You can go to the ballot.
Yes.
I know that's right. Yeah, I mean, you know, go to the ballot. So yeah, and please tell them the ballot they can go to again. Like if you want to see other candidates.
If you want to, and right now you can even go early vote. You know, if you want to avoid the COVID crowd, you can go to the Kansas City Elections Board. You can get the mail-in ballot, or you can even go to UMK or Union Station. Union Station. You can vote from 8 to 5. You know, if you're really concerned about beating COVID, and I don't think you even have to have it notarized if you're voting by mail and if it's for the avoidance of COVID. You don't even have to get it notarized. So yeah, Kansas City Elections Board has all the information there for you about all the candidates and all the ballots. So feel free to go check that out.
And I saw the whole list. So yeah.
And for the Senate seat, actually, it's the Kansas City Election Board and the Jackson County Election Board, since Raytown's part of Jackson County as opposed to Kansas City. So
you're hitting for more. I mean, you got a bigger audience you're coming at. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow. So state senator, state representative. That's what I said. So let me ask this question. Now we have people who may be a little confused with the positions. You know, state senator, and then you have nationwide senator. If I'm saying that right.
Yeah. United States senator.
Yeah. You go. So what exactly does a state senator do? What exactly does a state rep do? What are they? What are their positions? What are they responsible for doing?
So a state legislator or a state representative is responsible for creating the legislative statutes for the state of Missouri.
Right.
But you also have a client services aspect of that position as well. So you can engage with pretty much anything across the state of Missouri is concerned with.
Okay.
So just to tag on to what he said, you're a legislative. You create legislation for the state of Missouri based on what your constituents tell you to do, or what they believe you should do. In addition, you're in charge of controlling the state's budget. And the biggest difference between a representative and a senator is, one, the population base, which I believe it's 4 or 5 representatives equals 1 senator. The one thing that a senator can do that a representative can't do is filibuster. So if I need to be on my feet for 24 hours to stop a piece of legislation, I'm able to do that. So there's just little intricacies like that, but it's generally legislating and controlling the budget for the state of Missouri.
Okay. Now you both you mentioned budget. Now I'm a teacher. I've been teaching for a while, and when I looked and saw over $200 million cut from an educator's budget, that bothered me. So as far as budgeting, how can I ask this question with as being taking myself out of it? When it comes to budgeting, what precautions would a state senator take as regards to making certain cuts? Because $200 million is a huge chunk coming out of education.
Yeah. Well, especially for the entire state's budget, it's a little $30 billion and change. I mean, $200 million is a good chunk of change. And I don't know if I mentioned this before, but actually, I do have a degree from K-State. So if anybody that is a KU fan, don't hold it against me that's listening. So my degree's in economics. So that's the study of how we allocate our resources with the best and the most efficiency as possible. And I don't understand why $200 million was cut from the education budget, because especially coming into this new school year, we're going to have a lot of changes to our school districts.
Yes.
Whether it's we have to provide technology for our students to learn at home, or transportation to swap kids whenever they need to, as well as additional costs for sanitation of the schools to make sure everyone is safe. And we really need to focus on bolstering that education budget, as well as other resources that are with COVID, like whether it's unemployment expansion, or obviously passing healthcare, which is by the way, you're voting on August 4th, so make sure you vote on that as well.
Very important.
And the small businesses, small business reliefs, so our small businesses throughout the community can stay in business, and we don't have all these doors shuttering. So I mean, that's kind of what the focus is.
I'm glad you said that because I know I brought up education, but we know a lot of small business owners out there, and they, with this whole COVID piece, either you see some of these small businesses not opening anymore, or they didn't get any of that relief money that they should have gotten. And it's good that you said that you have an economics degree, because I know, I mean, it kind of makes you think. You got people controlling budget. Are they aware of how budget works that are elected in office? So I'm so glad that you said you have that economics degree, because I know I have questions. So several. And my political person, not here, he's probably watching, Brother Green, one of your aldermen. I mean, I always hit him up for questions too in regards to that. So I'm glad you mentioned that budget piece, because that's very strong right now, because we have people talking, referring to defunding the police. We have education being defunded already. And I remember I was telling some people, I said, education is kind of like the piggy bank for the government, because they always take out education first. On state level, on city level, on national level. I mean, we're just the piggy bank. So hopefully, with this, you all vote in the right individuals. The right individuals. That you all.
Hint, hint.
I mean, no. When you go to that website and look at who you want, make sure you vote individuals who have your interest at heart when it comes to budget. Now, you mentioned legislator. So legislation is what the passing of laws and
Right.
Okay. So there are several laws going on right now that are on the table. There's so many out there. Are there any laws that you are strongly standing by that you want to see pushed to the floor and voted in?
Yeah, absolutely. The expansion of Medicaid, vote yes on question 2.
Yes.
I mean, I like I said, I sell, or I've sold health insurance. That's not my bread and butter. But selling Medicare Advantage plans, to people who are senior citizens, you have these conversations with people across Missouri, and they are literally making, choices between, if they can get insulin or if they can put food on the table. And so, after hearing those things, repeatedly, your heart definitely starts to go out to those individuals and families. So, I mean, there is just no reason why, if we look at what our priorities are, that we don't prioritize, taking care of the most vulnerable, and one of the reasons why we see, funds getting taken away from education and other different, things is they typically will take away those things from the most vulnerable people, even just recently in Jefferson City, the whole restructuring of how, representatives are actually even counted, or representatives are even actually allocated. I think that they're even making it to a situation where only people of a certain age actually count, for representation, like people who only vote. And so literally you're shrinking the numbers of the people, who or shrinking the representation of the people. And so, back in 1776, we fought this war based off of taxation with no representation. And so when you hear about those things and you have a true understanding of what, can happen behind those changes and those cuttings, man, your heart starts to get heavy. So
yeah, most definitely. I mean, I see that with being an educator. I see that with being, a show host here. I see that with the activism that I do. I mean, we all come across individuals who really need what we can do for them.
Right.
I mean, they just literally pull on your heartstrings. I mean, it's just the way that it is. And I know you mentioned, how they cut in certain things. So it's kind of like a survival of the fittest type thing when it comes to politics. Now, like 2020 is an extremely interesting year, and so much has came about politically. I mean, like, if you was not a fan of politics, or if you was not immersed in politics, or if you were like, I don't want to be around politics, 2020 said, no, excuse the swimming reference, 2020 threw you in the deep end of politics. I mean, seriously.
Right.
Now, my son is 4.
Right.
And every time Trump had the pandemic briefings, when I pick him up from daycare, he'd say, "Daddy, are we watching the president?" Because he knew every night I had to watch it and see what was going on. And I explained to my son, no, I'm not watching it for kicks and giggles. No, I'm watching it because I want to know what's going on.
Right.
I said I have not watched the news and politics consecutively like this in a long time. And also on top of that, I was watching conservative news. I was watching liberal news. I was watching right in the middle. I was watching. I was getting it from every aspect because I wanted to figure out what was going on. I was like Marvin Gaye. I want to know what was going on.
Brother
And
Tyrone, are you saying that you watched Fox?
I did. I did. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I watched it. I watched Fox, and it was interesting because it was certain days Fox News and CNN was saying the same thing about what the man was saying.
Oh wow.
So I mean, it was interesting. So I mean, and like when my kid was watching, I said, "Look, son," I said, "what you got to do is, it's not wise to get one vantage point.
Right.
Get multiple vantage points so you can figure out how you want to roll with it." And as I was watching, he would look at me and say, "Can you turn to the next one? Can you turn to the next one?" So literally, this little guy was watching as we were going back and forth, trying to piece it all together,
Right.
so we can figure out what was going on. So, so if he's 4 years old and he's starting to figure out, I gotta keep my ear to the ground. Imagine what a more seasoned adult is doing. So, as far as 2020 popped up, the things that pop out on my radar is police brutality, systematic racism, and pandemic response.
Right.
All right. So, what I want to ask is, if you all were in the positions that you are in right now during this pandemic time, which you probably will be when you get elected, how would you handle, or how would you address how the pandemic situation is being handled? Because I know, I mean, across the board, every elected official is giving their recommendations on how the economy should open or how people should be safe.
Right. I think my thing is that we have to operate off of information and facts. I don't think that it helps anybody or us as a society on whole if we're running with opinions, running with things that we believe are true, and just basically gobbling up the whole conversation with things that aren't helping the situation at all. And so that's one of the things that I like to ground myself in. I like to ground myself in the facts and, basically what science says, and then, just operate from there. It's like, building a house. I can't build a house that have certain requirements if in past codes and build a stable functioning house if building it with illusionary materials or if the rules and the corrections that I need to be making I'm not really making. What I'm saying, I'm just making it up as I go. That is not a stable or sturdy situation. So I think that if I was elected, or if I was an elected official at this moment, dealing with the all the different crises and the situations that you have that you just pointed out and outlined, let's just go from the facts. I mean, even with the police brutality, if you look at the rate that black people were being lynched in the turn of the 20th century, it's the same rate that black men are being murdered by police officers at the moment. And so if we look at just the facts of that situation, then that should tell you that there's something wrong, and we should definitely take a different approach to how it is that we're going about these different things. Right. And so so everything is right there in black and white, but you can't let your ego and you can't let your passions actually take advantage of the clear sight that actually needs to be recognized and what to do and how to handle these situations.
Exactly. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't have said that better. I couldn't have said that better myself. Right. But you absolutely have to look at the facts. Like you said, you have to look at, if you're looking at social media for news, that's not necessarily the best thing. But you got to look at 3 different sources in this day and age to figure out what really is going on. And like you said, politics is a weird game. It's almost like a puzzle where someone purposely held a couple of the pieces underneath the sofa and you don't even know about those pieces. So right. I mean, as an elected official, I've gone to some of these the Black Lives Matter protests, and I've just to hand out water, because as an elected official, you can be a good elected official and legislate. You can be a great elected official if you listen. And that's all I did is I handed out water, and I just heard about people's people's thoughts on what is happening in this day and age, and it comes down to listening to facts, listening in general, and empathizing with someone that doesn't necessarily look like you or doesn't that comes from a different background that you. The main thing is empathy, and I think if you couple that with great listening and a willingness to fight for what you believe in, I think that would start steering the boat in the correct direction.
Yes, because empathy is one attribute that this nation currently does not hold in high regard right now,
No.
and what we need to do is elect more officials in office that have empathy for the for everybody.
All right, and Brother Turner,
Yeah.
he just said that he couldn't one up me on that one, and he just did. You know what I mean? I mean, no, but that was perfect.
Yeah,
when he spoke about listening.
Yeah, you got
I think a lot of people have their ideas of what politics means and what elected officials should actually be doing. But I think my brother Myers could not have said it best. The key job qualification that you need to have as an elected official is the capacity to listen and empathize.
Yeah, because you have people coming at you daily. Like that movie Bruce Almighty when Jim Carrey was God.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you all are God, but there's one actual scene where he was answering all these emails from all these requests. And I'm like, I know you guys get so many emails, so many phone calls, so many text messages, so many, hey, let me holler at you,
Right.
daily on a regular, because I know for a fact, I mean, with you being a city councilman, there's been times where I've seen other individuals on your panel pulling that phone call. I got to call, I got to take this call. Like, I know I'm coaching with one of your counterparts, and he's like, hold on real quick. Yeah, some constituent called.
Right.
And like you said earlier, you got a 24-hour policy. So, I mean, so that goes to show you right there that you guys are around the clock. People are always hitting you up. So that listening is definitely a strong trait that a leader needs to have.
And I saw how effective it is, by doing that, thing, listening.
Yeah.
I mean, a gentleman a couple of weeks ago, he was so distraught over, the situation that were taking place, with as far as the George Floyd protests and even, things that have happened here in Kansas City. And, he was just speaking about, his younger son, or his son, I think it was his youngest son, but his younger son was 18 years old. And I mean, I probably sat there and listened to the man for probably like 20 minutes, and I could even feel how he just felt even more relieved just by having somebody to listen to him. So the effectiveness of being an elected official with the capacity to listen and empathize, man, is the cornerstone.
It is. It definitely is. I mean, that's the way it is, because like you got people that are relying on you to represent them at a platform where they're not able to reach it.
Right.
So I know you got some literature here, Mr. Myers, and I know you're wearing your shirt here.
Yeah.
Now we talked about fundraising. You got support, more information. If anyone wants that from you, how can they get in contact to get to donate, or to say, hey, how can I get a sign in my yard, or can I knock on the door with you? Can I just talk to you? How can I get in contact with you?
So the easiest way to get in contact with me is to reach out to my website, which is myersformissouri.com, and you can spell that MYERS or MEYERS. I kind of saw that before it actually happened, and I bought both domain names. So
that's smart.
there's links on there about my priorities, my platform, and there's a little button at the top right-hand corner that says donate, and it'll send you right there, and you can donate in less than 5 minutes.
Right on.
All right. So my name is Derron Black, DERRON, Black, BLACK. And you can go to DerronBlack23.com, which is the district that I'm representing, or that I'm running for. The 23rd district is Independence Avenue and 9th Street on the north side, 35th and 31st Street on the south side, Truce on the west, and Mosa Topping on the east. We got a little jingle, but I will not say the jingle because I don't feel like embarrassing myself. But go to DerronBlack23.com. We have a button on there where you can click that, the Get Involved button, and you can sign up to volunteer if you want a yard sign, if you want to make some phone calls for us. The Get Involved button is how you do that. You can definitely check me out on the Act Blue website. If you just type in Derron Black 23, it should pop up there. Or you can go to secure.actblue/donate DB423, something like
Okay.
that. Yeah. But anyway, it's on there. Or go to the website, click the donate button, and it'll take you to the ActBlue website as well for donations.
Okay. And also, like they said earlier, you can go to the
Secretary of State's
Secretary of State website
to figure out who's running.
Yeah,
Or-
well, no,
or-
well, no, I mean, like, if you want more information on
Oh,
them,
yeah.
because I mean, I'm only focused on these two individuals right
Okay.
here. Because they accepted the invitation, but yeah, so
Deron Black, Ryan Myers. That's it.
it's all good. We got about 2 minutes left, and I do want to tell people that the election is
August 4th.
August 4th, and is it now? When's the deadline to be registered to vote? Is it
The deadline passed.
That's
It
already
passed.
passed.
Okay,
Yeah.
so hopefully
Like-
you already did that.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you can go vote now if you want to avoid, the COVID scare at Union Station from 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock Monday through Friday. Or you can go to the Kansas City Election Board if you're in Kansas City, I think, right? And yeah, Kansas City Election, KansasCityElectionsBoard.org, I believe, and you can get a application for a mail-in ballot as well.
Now, I will say that the Kansas City Election Board and the Jackson County Election Board are very, very customer service is amazing.
Right.
Yep.
I went to matter of fact, I went to a location and saw some voter suppression. I called them; they was on it real quick.
Shout out to Miss Lori over there
On
at the Kansas
quick,
City Election.
real
Board.
quick. And also, but the election board that people don't know is if you're doing an election like with your church or with your organization, they can come and run it for you too.
Right.
So I mean, so they're like I said, customer service is very high standard. I enjoyed talking with them and actually seeing how they work with that voter suppression. So if you see any forms of voter suppression, please call the election board ASAP, and they will get on it real quick.
Right.
I mean, I've seen voter suppression in the suburbs and in the inner city, and they did not. I mean, they did not hesitate.
All right.
Yeah. So definitely August 4th. Make sure you come out and vote. Exercise your right to vote. This is the time where I close it up. I want to thank Mr. Myers and Mr. Black for accepting the invitation to come in. It was a phenomenal show. We were just three brothers having a conversation about politics. And from what I saw a lot of individuals really being very receptive to what you all were saying. Now, in this country, the right to vote is power. Make sure you use your power wisely to put in who you feel represents you best. The key words that you heard here is individuals that know you, individuals that listen to you, that are empathetic with you, that will fight for you. Make sure you use that power to place someone in place that will make your voice heard loud on a platform in which you see fit. Thank you, brothers, for coming in.
Thank you.
God
Thank you.
bless. And
Right.
hopefully your election works out to your favor.
Yep.
Right on. Thank you.
All right, this is Tyrone Gethers Jr. You have been watching The Source of the Inkwell on KUAW. And in the Inkwell, education overflows. And just like ink, let it stain. Let it be permanent. See you next week.